drinking buddies. Some of us have been a seasoned veteran for like 2 whole years now. And some people have been doing this for a long time, but I know there's a lot of people out there who are just getting started in the bourbon game. And I thought it'd be really fun to do a list of my top 5 bottles that I would recommend that you start your whiskey collection with.
I'm your drinking buddy.
And I think we should start with something that some people might call a daily sipper or a budget sipper, something like that. I don't drink every day. I don't advocate for anyone drinking every day. So therefore, I can't really call it a daily sipper. But for me, it would be something that, plus I just don't like drinking the same thing all the time. So the closest thing I can come up with something that's in that budget category, but also something I wouldn't mind sipping all the time, and is readily available, is going to be the Maker's 46. You guys know I talk about this bottle a lot, but it's a very inexpensive bottle, readily available. You can get it at a gas station, and it's an excellent product from the Maker's line. Plus, this is going to cover our wheated bourbon category, something that I definitely think we should cover. If you're going to be having bourbon, you're going to be having a collection, you got to have a wheater in there. For our second bottle, we're going to go ahead and go for something a little bit older. We need something a little bit older in our bourbon category. And that leaves us to a few bottles that we can find readily available for an older product. You know, Knob Creek 9, Bullet 10 maybe is pretty readily available. You know, unfortunately, Eagle Rare is something that's just not available for a lot of people, and I want to keep this list to having only one allocated bottle on it. So for our older bottle, we're gonna go with Russell's 10. Now, you guys know I like this better than Eagle Rare anyway. This is a wonderful, readily available bottle, inexpensive, and it's one that every whiskey cabinet should have in it. I've made believers not out of just, you know, myself and a few of my close friends, but I think I've made some believers in the comments and in the chat feature down below. So if this is a bottle that you haven't tried, or it's a bottle you don't like, let's talk about it in the comments. But this is a great Wild Turkey offering, and I chose to highlight this bottle over Wild Turkey 101 because I talk about Wild Turkey 101 a lot, and I'm between bottles. I just finished one, so I'm gonna need to get another one of those soon. And this bottle is gonna cover the older bourbon category. Next up, I believe we need to ramp up the heat a little bit, and a readily available, a higher proof option is a challenge. You know, I really want to highlight something like 1792 Full Proof, or Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered, maybe even something like Knob Creek Single Barrel Proof at 120 proof. But all of those bottles are hard to find, and like I said, I wanted to include only one allocated bottle on this list, and so therefore I had to go with Old Grandad 114. This is a bottle that you can find a lot of places. People are starting to pick up on it, so it's starting to get a little bit harder to find, but it is not as allocated as a lot of the ones I just mentioned. Sitting at 114 proof from Jim Beam. Some of you may have tried a bottle called Basil Hayden's, and Basil Hayden's is just this stuff proof down to 80 proof, and they charge double for it. So don't always believe the bottle, believe what people are saying about it, and then that's just what'll get you to try it. Once you've bought it, it's gonna be up to you. Maybe this bottle isn't for you. Maybe you love this bottle. But the best thing I can recommend for people who are getting new into bourbon is to try it blind. You know, maybe you have a couple bottles at home that you like. Maybe one of them's allocated, maybe one of them isn't. Have a friend or a significant other or someone pour them blind for you. See what you really think. Remove those biases. It's really fun to do blinds and find out what your palate really loves. Next up, we're gonna do a bottle. We've gotta have a rye on the list. And I can't just not mention my favorite rye when we're gonna throw it in this. And it's a readily available bottle. It's easier to find than the bourbon. And boy, it's fantastic. And that's gonna be the Rare Breed rye. This is my favorite rye. It's my favorite rye because it packs a lot of flavor. It hits below its proof. It doesn't taste like it's a barrel proof offering, and it's 100. This particular one is 112.2. I know they can fluctuate a little bit, but this is a just wonderful, wonderful bottle. You know, it does advertise on here that it's number 4 char. To be perfectly honest, I don't know of anybody that doesn't use a number 4 char. Turkey uses a number 4, I believe Beam uses a number 4, and I know for a fact the Buffalo Trace uses a number 4. So basically everybody uses a number 4 char. I know that you can get Rare Breed in the airports. The Traveler Edition is non-chill filtered, and I've heard it's even better. But I don't really know how you could get much better than this, because this is my favorite rye. For the last bottle, I thought that we should include one allocated bottle, and the reason I feel this way is because when you're making your whiskey collection at the beginning, you're going to need something to hunt for. Something to hunt for is going to make it more entertaining, more interesting, and I decided to make something not super rare, but something that is allocated. And I feel like E.H. Taylor is the perfect bottle for this. Here, it's going to give you 100 proof bottled in bond. So all of these are different proofs. And this bottle is one that when I first started hunting whiskey, I found it at a liquor store that charged a little bit more than retail, and I just jumped on it. It was about 60 bucks. But since then, I've never been able to finish a bottle before I find a new one. So in my area, it's not that challenging to find. You still got to hunt for it. You got to put in that work. But some things you can do to find this bottle. You can learn the drop dates at your local liquor stores. So for me, Total Wine, I know what days they're getting deliveries, especially what days they're getting Buffalo Trace deliveries. And I've learned this from talking to other people who shop there, as well as the people who work there. And that's a great way to begin. Another way is to not be afraid of asking grocery stores as well. So you'll find a grocery store that has a really nice liquor section where they have maybe a lot case and they have a lot of bourbon offerings. You can't go to a place that just has a handful of bottles. They're never gonna get it. But if you go to a place that has a really good selection of bourbon, find out who the liquor manager is there, talk to them, get to know them, and you can ask about this bottle. Hey, you know, maybe do you have a waiting list for E.H. Taylor? Could you let me know when you get an E.H. Taylor in? They will do it. You know, don't annoy them to death. I know that right now there are a lot of these retail locations that are getting inundated with calls for Eagle Rare specifically, and Blanton's specifically. So maybe asking for something like this might even be a little bit of a fresh air, since you're not asking them for Eagle Rare or Blanton's. I know Weller can be annoying as well. A lot of people ask for that. I'm guilty of being the annoying guy asking for Weller. And I've been the annoying guy asking for all of these things, but sometimes you gotta ask, sometimes you gotta put that fear aside and just bother them sometimes. Just don't be too annoying. But drinking buddies, these are my top 5 bottles that I would recommend a new person to drinking bourbon should start their collection with, and we'll see you on the next one.